Okay. So you
So
see
I just want to say before we read this, I think
yes.
I'm going to be quiet during this chapter.
You read it about why? Because of the Nedarim?
Because not a lot that I can say without getting in trouble, probably. So.
Gershon, you're always in
Just
trouble.
kidding.
Nothing new. You can be in trouble.
Yeah,
It's fine.
exactly.
No, Gershom. We love your comments and your difficult questions. And
Thank you. And now for mute.
Yeah. So please mute. And yes, we have a short chapter, only I think 17 or something like that, verses, and very clear, more clearer than other chapters, very like arranged about the laws of the vows. But this is how we say this word, vows or vows.
Vows.
Vows. Okay. Okay, let's begin and try to think why it is here. Actually, well, we can start with this because it's the last verse of the previous chapter mention your vows. So that's why at least the scholars think that this is why it is here, because otherwise it's not connected to anything actually. It is the commandments of the vows for women, not women. So women, not for men, because we have it in another place for men, and it is more more severe. Okay, let's start. Sharon, would you like to start reading 1 until 9?
And Moses told the children of Israel according to all that the Lord had commanded Moses. And Moses spoke unto the heads of the tribes of the children of Israel, saying, This is the thing which the Lord hath commanded. When a man voweth a vow unto the Lord, or sweareth an oath to bind his soul with a bond, he shall not break his word. He shall do according to all that proceedeth out of his mouth. Also, when a woman voweth a vow unto the Lord, and bindeth herself by a bond, being in her father's house in her youth, and her father heareth her vow, or her bond wherewith she hath bound her soul, and her father holdeth his peace at her, then all her vows shall stand, and every bond wherewith she hath bound her soul shall stand. But if her father disallow her in the day that he heareth, none of her vows or of her bonds wherewith she has bound her soul shall stand, and the Lord will forgive her because her father disallowed her. And if she be married to a husband while her vows are upon her, or the clear utterance of her lips, wherewith she hath bound her soul, and her husband hear it, whatsoever day it be that he heareth it, and hold his peace at her, and her vows shall stand, and her bonds wherewith she hath bound her soul shall stand. But if her husband disallow her in the day that he heareth it, then he shall make her void her vow which is upon her, and the clear utterance of her lips, wherewith she has bound her soul, and the Lord will forgive her.
Thank you. What do you any comments? Maybe okay, let's start to. So first you can see that I found it interesting that for example, in number 3, we have the word or also in Hebrew, like it gives us the thought that a vow and
Oath.
Or oath, yes, or oath is not exactly the same. Now, I read about it, and yes, it's Okay, in a minute. And also, okay, what I read about it is that vow, ish ki yidor neder laDonai, is in the positive thinking. I mean, positive, ma ken mitzvat aseh. Okay, I will do this and this and that.
Mhm.
And if it's an oath, yes, it's I will
Oath, oath.
oath.
Oh.
Like just an O, no A. Oath.
Oath.
OTH.
Okay, תודה. So an oath, it's in a negative meaning, what I will not do. But I think that I didn't go into this in depth, but I think there are examples of either way, and I'm not sure about it. So this is one thing, but probably it is a little bit different because we have the or. We can try to. I brought here a few examples of famous vows in the Bible. I'm sure you know it all, and we will see if it goes with this general with this idea of positive. So we have, look at number 1 and number 3. So ish, when a man vows a vow, okay, to the Lord, he shall not break his word. So with men, it's not to be broken at all. נכון?
He has no way out.
There's no way out, בדיוק. נכון. But in a woman, it's something else. Okay? She's if it is if she is young or unmarried yet, and she's in the responsibility of her father, and so, but and if she's married, she's under the responsibility of her husband. But the main interesting thing is here that they have the ability to release her from her vows. I mean, but look at something. Look at number 5. And her father hears her vow or her bond, okay? And her father held his peace at her, then all her vows shall stand. I mean, if he hears it and doesn't object, it is valid. It is valid. She must. Now, if and it's I'm looking for the specific in 6. Look at 6. But if her father disallow her in the day that he hears, ביום שמעו, in the same day that on the same day that he hears it, he can cancel it, or how do you say it? annul, איך אומרים? annul. Okay, annul. So it's quite interesting. What do you think? I mean, it's and exactly. I mean, it's the same case with the husband. If it's on the same day, he can annul it, and if it's not, he cannot annul it. And if he doesn't want her to keep it, he has to take it on his shoulders. He has to.
You're saying that she can be released. I think that it's not a release. I think it's a veto.
Yeah.
Yes.
They don't trust.
Ma?
They didn't trust the woman.
Yes.
Look,
Woman
they
judgment.
trust the woman. She depends on her husband. If the husband don't stop here, she is free. You know, she depends on her husband to do everything.
Yes.
If he didn't stop her, אין נדר עליה, אין, לא תופס הנדר.
I think
אני שמתי את עצמי, היא תלויה בבעלה, ובאבא שלה ובבעלה, היא לא עצמאית.
Ken, Rivka, I understand, but I think it's the opposite.
מה?
If he doesn't say anything, the vow is valid. הנדר, היא חייבת לקיים את הנדר. But I
Yeah.
think I like what Sharon said about the
לא, אם הוא לא אומר לה כלום, היא פטורה. אני מבינה
How
את זה.
did you understand it? Maybe I'm wrong. How did you understand it?
לא, היא פטורה. היא פטורה מהנדר. אם הוא לא עצר אותה, זאת אומרת, מה אני אעשה? לא אמרו לי לא. מה אני אעשה? לא סומכים עליה.
No,
If their father doesn't object, then it goes forward, and it's what she said.
She's
And
free.
her father objects, then he voids it.
what do you mean in goes forward? It means that
That means
woman
if
must,
she makes a vow and her father does not say no,
yes,
then she made the vow and it stands.
yes,
that's-
she has to
that's it.
fulfill the vow. She
Yes,
has to fulfill, and she has to be punished if she doesn't fulfill it, and all that. All the
yes.
vow commandments stand. מבינה, רבקה?
אני לא רואה את זה ככה.
רבקה, okay, let's look at number 5.
מתי היא פטורה? כשהבעלה לא יתערב.
לא, לא.
No, the opposite, the
אני
opposite.
חשוב.
The opposite. If Ba'ala, if her husband put a veto, like Sharon said, no, you cannot vow it. He doesn't accept. And then she's released from it.
אני יכולה לקרוא את זה בעברית ולהדגיש את ההבנה שלי?
כן, כן.
הטעמים גם חשובים. ושמע אביה את נדרה. הוא שמע. כלומר, הוא ידע. ואסרה אשר אסרה לנפשה.
ואת האיסור.
האיסור. The forbidden. והוא החריש. הוא לא אמר לה, לא, 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 אל תעשי את זה, את לא תעמדי בדבר הזה.
נכון.
זה גדול לך, זה קשה לך. והחריש לה אביה, וקמו. מה קמו? הנדרים.
מה זה קמו? מה הכוונה?
קמו, התקיימו הנדרים. זו ההבנה שלי. וקמו, התקיימו. עכשיו, כל נדריה וכל איסר אשר אסרה על נפשה, יקום. זאת אומרת, יתקיים.
יתקיים. מה שהפוך, את מבינה?
אז זהו, אם הוא לא אמר לה, אז היא פטורה. לא
No,
עצרו
the
אותה.
opposite.
לא, רבקה.
לא עצרו אותה, לא אמרו לה, אל תלכי, אל תלכי. אז מה, איזה אחריות יש לה? אין לה אחריות, לא אמרו לה, סתם מה שעשתה, כמו ילד קטן. לא אומרים לו, אסור לך, אז מה הוא יעשה? הוא פטור.
Let's say, רגע.
מעניין, איך אני מבינה אחרת.
But you understand correctly about the word kamu. Kamu, it means exist.
exist.
Okay?
כן.
So,
הנדר קם, היא תקבל עונש עליו. הוא קיים הנדר, הוא לא פטור. היא לא פטורה מהנדר.
היא לא פטורה, exactly, היא לא פטורה מהנדר. If her husband or her father doesn't say anything, היא לא פטורה מהנדר. Can someone else try to
Question.
explain?
Do we have from Chazal or from someone else what the conditions are on an Eved, just for comparison?
Oy, I don't know.
If an Eved swears a vow, does his master have the ability to stop it, or is it more ability?
You know what? That's very interesting. And I didn't see about this anything. And also, you know, I look for the word neder in the Bible with the concordance. I didn't see a connection, but maybe I have to look up. I don't remember a verse that connects the Eved with neder.
Because I'm just thinking of Abraham sending his Eved to find a wife for Yitzhak,
נכון.
and there was a neder there, obviously between them, so he wouldn't nullify it, but it would seem to say that an Eved can make a neder.
Okay, so this is, and I think between Abraham and Eliezer, it was between two men. Okay, even between a master and a slave, but
Yeah, but
Not
if the
between-
Eved made a neder LaHashem,
yes, that's an interesting question. I don't know. I didn't find about it, and you will see. I brought some things from the sages, but that didn't find about Eved. Maybe you can look it up.
if I ever find my books again.
next זה רגע, אני ארשום את זה.
But
Yeah.
Aura,
כן.
if the Eved is not of the Hebrew people,
Yes.
it's unlikely that he would make an oath to the Hebrew God. Isn't that correct?
Yes, because I think I believe, but it's an interesting. I will look it up. I will try to find about it. But interesting, and also about when they talk about Eved. You know what? Maybe I want to go on. I will look it up afterward. Okay, so let's move on, and I think it's quite clear. רבקה, זה
כן,
בסדר?
אני לא מבינה את זה ככה, אבל לא חשוב, אני לא נתעכב, כי פה בפסוק הבא הוא אומר, אם הוא לגבי העונש, יסלח לה.
Okay, but
לא
what do you think about
אדוני יסלח לה, כי הנה אביה אותה. מתי הוא סלח לה?
תסתכלי מה כתוב, רבקה, ביום שמעו.
ביום שומעו כל נדריה, אביה.
רגע,
ועשריה אשר עשרה.
her father disallow her in the day that he heard. ביום שמעו.
Yeah.
The next day, it is avud lo. It is he cannot if he wants to disallow, it won't work. He will be punished if he. Okay.
Yeah.
What do you think? What is the point of this? I really don't know. I mean, let's talk about it a little bit. Why it is so emphasized here about the same day, on the same day. The minute he hears it, he must.
Maybe he thinks she did something rash, like something, in the heat of the moment,
Yeah.
and he thinks that it doesn't make sense. And so he's kind of saving her from her
Yes.
her actions. But if it waits till the next day, then they both had a chance to think about it. So he wasn't like on further thought, maybe not. But so that doesn't work. It has to be, you just did something foolish. I'm going to stop it. But but if he doesn't think it's foolish immediately,
Yeah.
then
So it's not foolish.
yeah,
But, you know,
very
but
nice.
that's what came to my mind.
By the
Well-
way, what you're saying about to do a thing by harsh, this is what all the sages talk about it, and we will read about what Kohelet says about all the idea of vowing. Okay, exactly what you're saying, that better not to vow. It's better.
Mhm.
Okay,
Okay.
anyone else?
Yes. So I want to say something. I think that, to me, this section is talking about vows and how important it is to keep your word, and that's part of the ethical standard for the Jewish people. Is that when you say something, you mean it and you do it and follow through, which I think is just great. But on the other hand, I think it's also why they're talking about women and all these qualifications about women and their husbands, is how they saw women in those days, and women were infantilized and considered to be not a whole person able to make rational decisions. The men had to correct their behavior, which I found to be very distressing, to say the least.
Yes,
And
I agree.
Yeah.
But it's what's really strange about that, and I agree with you, Jeannie, is that, I mean, there are women from that time who are given tremendous respect, like Moses' sister, mother, and Pharaoh's daughter. I mean, these are all women who've made tough choices, big, grown-up decisions. No man was involved. So there is respect for women. So it seems like a contradiction here, doesn't
Well,
it?
I think I think there's contradictions. I think life is full of contradictions, and there were women, I'm sure, who were really as wise, or perhaps even, God forbid to say, wiser than the men whom they were married to, or who their fathers had fathers. But nonetheless, it was the general view of women was one of infantilizing them. And that's my opinion, and people can disagree. It's
Yes,
fine.
yes, I can agree.
Okay,
Yes.
but on the other
Can I
hand,
suggest another point of view?
can I just finish my thought for just a sec? I just want to say one last
Yeah.
thing, and then please go ahead and present your point of view. But there were certainly exceptional women, and those were the exception to the rule, and really proved a very important point about the validity of women's ideas. Okay, I'm finished. Please, Adina, go ahead.
Okay.
Go wild.
I'm not disagreeing with your point, but
Okay.
I was thinking that, a woman living in her father's household or in her husband's household, if she makes some kind of a hasty decision, it's not only going to affect her, it's going to affect, if it's something that's economic, it's going to affect her husband or her father, because as you said, women in those days didn't have their own income, so that their hasty decision is going to affect the household as a whole, if it has to do with anything economic.
Yeah.
So it's just
Yeah,
a thought that occurred to me.
Yes, but it doesn't say anything about the son. Then, if the women,
Right, I was going to say that also. Like, why can't a father release his son from some kind of a hasty, foolish vow also,
This is
as a minor son?
Or just, if the man's the breadwinner, he could also make a hasty vow that is going to put his family in jeopardy as well. So
yes,
but
they didn't give women the power to say, no, that was a stupid thing to do, don't do it.
right.
So yeah, that's a good point too.
And in addition to all what you said that it's good to have the possibility if someone one of the husband or wife says something in harsh, and then the other stops him. This is good, but the other way around, it's not here. I mean, if it was the other way around, no, the woman says to her husband, oh no, don't say it. I mean, you won't be able to fulfill it or anything else maybe. So I would so it makes a lot of logic, I think, a lot of but the fact that it is not with the two-sided sides.
Just wait.
מה? Sorry?
מה אומרים חז"ל אורה? הצצת משהו?
Just the fact that it is not two-sided shows the status of the woman also.
Yeah.
We can't get away from it. It's still because, and I agree about women didn't go out to work and didn't deals with the money issues and all that, but so they didn't have experience with it, so they can't talk about it. But it doesn't mean that the men cannot make mistakes.
So if I could go back on my oath of silence.
We'll release you.
Okay, thank you.
Wait, nobody can release Gershom because he's not no win because he's a man. I'm sorry.
Now this is modern times.
I'll suffer the consequence. I'll suffer the consequences. But I was just thinking, this is also sort of a conflict resolution methodology that, okay, so someone has the final word in a sense, So the man can release the woman, but the man has to be responsible for his own oaths and vows. So that sort of clears up some of the decision making, but the why it has to be just on that first day it is a step against being a tyrant. You know, well, you said this a week ago, but I'm going to change it now. You know, it takes that out of it. So it's possibly some of that, and possibly some of just men want to be in control.
I think the control thing is it, but okay.
Yeah.
To
No,
follow
I
up-
wasn't disagreeing with what you said, Judy. I thought it was an
Yeah.
addition to it.
John?
To follow up on Gershon's comments, we should all remember all our vows are subject to nullification by a rabbinic court, as happens every year at Kol Nidre.
Yeah.
So, I mean, this is clearly putting the father or husband not in the position of a dictator, but in the position of a judge.
Hmm.
That is, he's able to form a court in his family.
So is that
Oh
good?
yeah, he is the judge, but why it is the, I didn't understand the connection with
But
Colin.
the point is that even for men and a court can annul vows. That is, so if you have a structure where a judge can say, or in our case, 3 judges say all your vows are null and void.
Yeah.
And so I'm saying it's sexist, it may be, but it's less absolute than it might be in a traditional Western understanding of the rule of thumb.
Okay. Okay. Interesting.
May I just read from the women's commentary?
Of course. Oh, you read your. I didn't.
I
see.
did. That's okay.
What, Ora, I asked you if you know what the sages said.
אז רק שנייה, רבקה, כי ניתן לרות לדבר ואז, בסדר?
מעניין מאוד.
כן, רות.
Okay, so they take kind of an anthropological approach in the women's commentary. I think they're trying to be very scholarly and not trying feminists. So number 1 about neder, they say in the Bible, the noun neder, vow, denotes a promise to dedicate something to God only if and when the supplicant's request is fulfilled. So that's like Hannah requesting that God bless her with a child, and then she will dedicate the child to God. And then they say the chief concern seems to be to regulate the impact that a woman's vow might have upon the household, which is represented by the male head of the household, her father or husband. Vows and oaths grant women a sphere in which they can articulate certain needs and have them met. The laws perhaps indicate men's concern that the vow of a woman in their household could lead to a destabilizing loss of property.
I think it's exactly what Adina said, yes.
Well, I wanted to give her a scholarly hechsher.
Yeah. Nice. Okay, let's move on. Adina, can you read 10 to 17, 10 until the end?
Okay.
רבקה, אנחנו נקרא אחר כך. לא שכחתי אותך. כן, אדina.
But the vow of a widow or of her that is divorced, even everything wherewith she hath bound her soul shall stand against her. And if a woman vowed in her husband's house or bound her soul by a bond with an oath, and her husband heard it and held his peace at her and disallowed her not, then all her vows shall stand, and every bond wherewith she bound her soul shall stand. But if her husband make them null and void in the day that he heareth them, then whatsoever proceeded out of her lips, whether it were her vows or the bond of her soul, shall not stand. Her husband hath made them void, and the Lord will forgive her. Every vow and every binding oath to afflict the soul, her husband may let it stand, or her husband may make it void. But if her husband altogether hold his peace at her from day to day, then he causeth all her vows to stand, or all her bonds which are upon her. He hath let them stand, because he held his peace at her in the day that he heard them. But if he shall make them null and void after that he hath heard them, then he shall bear her iniquity. These are the statutes which the Lord commanded Moses between a man and his wife, between a father and his daughter, being in her youth in her father's house.
Thank you. Yes, so this is the other. So if a widow and a divorced woman
Mhm.
are like men, they stand by themselves.
They're emancipated.
So not only they have terrible, difficult life. In addition, they don't have anyone. Sometimes it's good to have someone to, you know, to say don't say it, or okay. Let's move on to read a little bit about the very famous vows in the Bible.
Yeah.
I'm sure you all you are familiar with this. Okay.
Can I throw a quick question before?
Yeah.
Just what was missing from the chapter, and it may be the obvious reason, I'm not sure, but that's why I'm asking, is the woman who never gets married.
Hey,
And
so,
she's
yes.
no longer a youth in her
On.
father's house. She may or may not live in her father's house, but she's not young anymore.
Yes.
Did that just not exist, or did we leave it out?
There is a word in English, spinster?
Yes.
Spinster, yeah.
Okay.
It's not the kindest word.
So, סליחה, I didn't know. Anyway, I found this, and in Olam HaTanakh they address it, that because it was rare, this is why it is not mentioned. But yes, you're right. It's yeah, it's a right. It's a good comment. And also, I've been thinking of, after we talked with all our discussion. What about boys? I mean, younger boys, and how it is that, I mean, I assume that a child, his or her vows don't count, okay? But until what age? And maybe it is not mentioned here. Maybe it is until 20, the year that boys go to army. It's not boys anymore, but it is not mentioned at all. This is also someone that is not mentioned.
I think the sages decided at the time when the child take responsibility is 30 in the bar mitzvah.
The sages, yes, bar mitzvah, but we are talking here much before that. Of course, in bar mitzvah, it's something else. We're talking about during the you know, we're talking about much before, a long time before the sages. But you're right, maybe because if we are going to the sages' time, and so they have all kinds of solutions for not to fulfill every vow that someone says. So, את מבינה, רבקה? מה אני
לא,
מנסה לומר?
אמרת מילה שאת,
הבר מצווה כאן is irrelevant, I think.
מפני שאת מדברת על תקופת התנ"ך בלבד.
Yes, it's תקופת התנ"ך.
ואם את זוכרת במקומות אחרים, אין, חוץ מהפרק שאנחנו לומדים, במקומות אחרים אין הטלת חובה, אין דברים שקשורים לחובת הנער.
I didn't find, we have in Leviticus, I think 27, this is all the chapter, this is why I didn't bring it, because it's all the chapter, talking about the commandments of vows and all the sacrifices that only men. This chapter is the only place that talks about women vows, and I didn't find about a child, and I think it's just
Okay, I want to just say something briefly.
Yes,
It's
yes,
interesting to me. When my son was growing up, he was difficult. He's just terrific now, but as a teenager, he was difficult. And I talked to a parent of one of my students who was a biochemist, and he said, you know, boys, when they get hormones start rushing through their bodies at age whatever it is, 13, they're certifiably insane until they're about 23. Now, I mean, that's not really true for every boy or anything like that, but nonetheless, I think boys often make less wise decisions in their teenage years than girls do, is my opinion. Exhibited in my family, at least, I don't know. I mean, you have boys, and I'm sure your boys look like lovely young men and very responsible and whatever. So, but my son wasn't. He is now, but he wasn't. So, yeah. So anyway, I don't know. I mean, it just seems to me that there should be something about boys, whatever.
Okay. Ruth, you wanted to say something?
I was more going kacha,
Twin boys and girls.
I'm uncomfortable with those, but I think what's with those stereotypes, but even if they have a biological or a chemical basis, but I think what's interesting is how seriously the spoken word is taken. How it's seriously the whole idea of the vow, and in American law, there's a whole body of law differentiating a written contract from an oral contract. And there are very specific conditions that must exist for an oral contract to even be recognized. So I think that to some extent, the lesson to us is also to heed our words and what we say. And the example that's always given is that, someone who gets angry and says, you make me so angry, I'm going to kill you. And then the next day the person is dead. And is that evidence of an intent to kill, or is it just evidence of extreme anger?
Angry. Yes, very nice. And you know what? I thought to read the following after we will read the examples from the Bible, but let's do it now because we touch it in different ways. So maybe Ruth, can you read because you said about the power of the word actually. So if you can read this, all in the blue. In the blue until here, okay?
Sure. The vow is an oath in the name of God. The most common way a neder is made is through verbal pronunciation.
Okay.
Along with the mitzvah to keep vows, the sages see in the act of vowing of one upon himself as a negative thing, even if it is fulfilled. Rabbi Natan says everyone who makes a vow is as if he built a platform, and those who fulfill it are as if they are incensed on it, meaning burned up, I think. In other words,
he means avodah zarah. I didn't know if a platform is the same, is the good word, but it means avodah zarah, like avodah zarah.
Okay. In other words, it is better to allow the vow than to fulfill it.
Not to allow, sorry. To, no, it's not the word. To null this?
Nullify.
Nullify.
Nullify. Mm-hmm.
Can you spell for me?
FY.
איך?
IFY at the end.
To
Okay.
nullify.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. Yes, you're right. Okay.
Which means to make null.
Yes. Okay. Okay. So let's continue reading. רגע. So, Jim, can you read Rabbeinu Bachye, what he said about this?
And since not all offenses are as serious as breaking an oath, and the person's heart has formed evil from his youth, and he's always angry, and out of his anger jumps and swears. For this, the Torah had to offer a solution in advance and order the annulment of vows by one expert or 3 laymen.
This is Rabbeinu Bachye. It all goes to the same direction of be careful not to vow too much. And
Right.
exactly how you I think you mentioned it about being angry, saying things not rational. Judy, can you read this? What Rambam from here?
He who makes
Yes.
He who makes vows to establish his opinions and correct his actions is fine. What is meant by? Such as someone who was guilty of wine and forbade himself wine for a long time, or forbade himself to ever get drunk. Likewise, he who used to chase money and gifts and now forbids himself gifts and forbids himself from defrauding state officials, all of them are a way of serving God. Even so, the sages said, one should not make many vows of prohibitions, but rather withdraw from things that one should withdraw from without a vow.
Yeah. Okay. And the last of Rambam, מי עוד לא קרא? גרשום. אני חושבת I think you did. Okay. מורה נבוכים.
1 second. No, okay. And just as the Torah commanded us about forbidden foods, we also commanded about forbidden vows. That is, if a person says, this bread is forbidden for me, or this meat is forbidden for me, and so on. All this in order to teach habits of contentment and to block cravings for food and drink.
Thank you. And Rambam talked a lot about to reduce our, not to eat too much, not to,
not to be gluttons.
איך אומרים איפוק באנגלית? להתאפק.
איפוק, כן, להתאפק. שרון או ג'ון, איך אומרים איפוק? זהו, I'm not sure that contentment is the right word, but to restrain ourselves.
Ipuk is as it is
okay.
to restrain yourself.
מה? שרון, מה?
Isn't hipuk to restrain yourself?
איפוק.
To hold yourself back?
Yes.
Sort of like the opposite of sipuk.
Yes. Okay. משהו כזה.
Abstain.
אוקיי. אוקיי, שלום אורית, מה שלומך? אורית, would you like to read? Okay, she's there. Who didn't read? I'm sorry. Didn't read. Gershom just now read.
אני יכולה גם לקרוא באנגלית, מה יש?
קדימה.
משהו. איפה מתחיל? בז'ודאיזם?
אני רציתי לתת לך לקרוא בעברית עוד מעט, אבל בסדר.
אני אשמח. ז'ודאיזם מתחיל? כן. Judaism use the power of speech as very strong. It is speech that distinguishes humans from animals and has the power to accomplish a lot of better or for worse. Due to the strength of the neder and the fact that one must absolutely be fulfilled if mad, many Pius לא מכירה, Jews engage in the practice of saying bli neder. After a statement that they will do something, meaning that their statement is not a binding neder, in the even they cannot fulfill their pledge due to enforcing
Okay.
circumstances.
Okay.
Circumstances.
Okay, so we
Go on.
say again. So we say bli neder. This is why this is the origin of saying bli neder. Let's go back to the because there are such nice examples in the Bible. Okay, so first example is in Genesis. טוב, שרון, את רוצה לקרוא?
Sure.
It's these 4 verses.
And Jacob vowed a vow, saying, if God will be with me and will keep me in this way that I go, and will give me bread to eat and raiment to put on, so that I come back to my father's house in peace, then shall the Lord be my God. This stone which I have set up for a pillar shall be God's house. And of all that thou shalt give me, I will surely give the 10th unto thee. Oh, that's where the tithing comes from. I am the God of Bethel, where thou didst anoint a pillar, where thou didst vow a vow unto me. Now arise, get thee out from this land, and return unto the land of thy nativity.
Thank you. And I emphasize these words then, because it's like it's the structure of a vow. If this is it, then I will do this and that.
Condition.
And this verse goes. Look, it's another chapter when God wants his payment. Now, this is me that you made you
Arise.
God, now arise, get and so on. Okay, let's go on. We read this in chapter 6 about the Nazir. You know what? Let's move on. Just a minute. Okay, this is interesting. Gershom, you want to read this?
And the Canaanite, the king of Arad, who dwelt in the south, heard tell that Israel came by the way of Atarim, and he fought against Israel and took some of them captive. And Israel vowed a vow unto the Lord and said, if thou wilt indeed deliver this people into my hand, then I will utterly destroy their cities. And the Lord hearkened to the voice of Israel and delivered up the Canaanites, and they utterly destroyed them and their cities. And the name of the place was called Hormah. And they journeyed from Mount Hor by the way to the Red Sea.
No,
Red Sea.
I don't know why I put it. Okay. But so here the Israel vowed a vow unto the Lord. If let's start with the word if, right?
Yeah.
And then in the next verse, the Lord does his part. And what is missing here?
יש פה condition, יש פה תנאי.
Exactly.
יש פה תנאי, מה? They don't,
dear God, if you will help me to in this war, I will.
And before that they
all
didn't
your commandments.
God, before that they didn't believe God. Ma.
Yes.
The believing of God is conditional to do something for Him. It's very actually. כל פעם מוצאים משהו אחר.
The condition is sort of as if Israel destroying their cities is something as a benefit to God, but I don't see it.
I'm just saying that in the text that there is the other part is missing. Then
that seems to be the other part. If you deliver them into my hands, then I'll destroy their cities. That's how it reads.
And then I will utterly, and then so this is here's the conditional.
Right. except that seems strange.
Yeah, it seems strange because
Strange.
I would expect
Promise.
the usual thing is that if God will help us, we will believe and we will do and all that. But yeah, maybe
Yep.
you're right. Okay, now
Perhaps it was the
Maybe the-
language of that time. סליחה,
רגע.
בבקשה.
And maybe destroying the cities involved destroying what we would call pagan gods and altars.
yeah, maybe yes, yes,
And so that would be a showing of faith to the Hebrew God.
yes, yes. Yeah, you're probably right. Although it's
כן, רציתי
in
להגיד
so
משהו.
many places in the Bible, it is mentioned and it is emphasized, and here
Yes,
it's
it's different.
מה רבקה?
כן, perhaps in that time, the meaning of the im was different from today. Perhaps.
I'm not sure.
מבינה, לא יכול להיות שנותנים, I don't think that people conditioned God. As perhaps the word,
You're saying
the word
that.
if has another meaning at that time.
Okay, so
אני הייתי מפרשת ככה.
Okay.
לא condition, as. Today we say, we see a condition.
please, maybe please.
כן, יכול
Yes,
להיות.
yes, very,
Another
very
meaning.
interesting comment. As much as I know about the Hebrew, biblical Hebrew, it is conditioned in, but maybe here it's really a bit of chutzpah. Im titen to God. If it's a bit strong. Yes,
No.
yes, you're right.
It is not surprising from people, from Israeli people. The chutzpah.
So you say it started way back, our behavior. Okay, so let's continue. Judy or Judy, would you like to read this tragedy?
Oh, no.
And Yiftach vowed a vow unto the Lord and said, if
Ah,
thou wilt indeed deliver the children of Ammon into my hand, then it shall be that whatsoever cometh forth of the doors of my house to meet me, when I return in peace from the children of Ammon, it shall be the Lord's, and I will offer it up for a burnt offering. So Yiftach passed over unto the children of Ammon to fight against them, and the Lord delivered them into his hand. And he smote them from Aror until
כן.
Until minute. כן.
until thou come to Minim, even 20 cities, and unto Abel Cheramim with a very great slaughter. So the children of Ammon were subdued before the children of Israel. And Yiftach came to Mitzpah unto his house, and behold, his daughter came out to meet him with timbrels and with dances, and she was his only child. Beside her he had neither son nor daughter. And it came to pass, when he saw her, that he rent his clothes and said, Alas, my daughter, thou hast brought me very low, and thou art become my troubler. For I have opened my mouth unto the Lord, and I cannot go back.
And then they continue. After it is his daughters tells him, do exactly what you said. Do exactly what you said. And the Hebrew is really beautiful in this verse. רבקה, את רוצה לקרוא את הפסוק הזה בעברית? 30 ל"ה. ממש, a really beautiful Hebrew.
כן. ויהי בראותו אותה, ויקרע את בגדיו, ויאמר, אתה, ביתי, הכרעתיני, ואת היית בעוכרי, ואנוכי פציתי פי אל אדוני, ולא אוכל לשוב מהנדר. לשוב מהנדר.
So we have here a play on words. אחריה הכרעתיני, ואת היית בעוכרי. This is a beautiful expression, היה בעוכריו, that we use until today. We use it, I mean, not in every day speaking, okay, but but in written Hebrew we use it, and this is it means a cause failure, and this is the origin of this expression. זהו בעצם עולם התנ"ך. Okay, and we get to I think Ruth, you mentioned it, right?
השורש קרא זה להפיל, לא? כמו קרא ברך.
קרא
הפלת
זה
אותי.
להכריע, זה קבל
להכריע זה להפיל אותי פה.
למה?
להפיל אותי פה, הפלת אותי בפח, כמו שאומרים היום.
Okay, so
הכרעתיני, אני חושבת.
להכריע, to determine in favor for one of the parties, or to ruling, like what the judge, what the judge.
קרא, maybe it's קרא to bow.
זה משהו אחר. This is another meaning. This is קרא ברך. It is another meaning, not
אז
to.
לכן אמרתי, נפל, למטה.
But it is another binyan. It's another structure of the verb. This is קרא in the verb of פעל, binyan kal, and this is להכריע, binyan הפעיל. להכריע, it's to determine who is right. Or
side.
Yes. Okay.
סופית.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Ruth, can you read this?
This is about Hannah.
Yes.
Okay. And she was in bitterness of soul and prayed unto the Lord and wept sore. And she vowed a vow and said, O Lord of hosts, if thou wilt indeed look on the affliction of thy handmaid and remember me, and not forget thy handmaid, but will give unto thy handmaid a man-child, then I will give him unto the Lord all the days of his life, and there shall no razor come upon his head.
Now, remember what the situation, at least when I read this, I imagine that she's alone in the temple, and she's praying, and she's saying this, right? So her husband is not there to to contradict.
Right.
Maybe you wouldn't agree about it.
Right, but I think they want to give a backstory for Shmuel and how he became such a great prophet.
Yeah, of course. I just wanted to
exactly.
In light of what we read, I thought about it.
But the part about the husband not being there doesn't matter. What matters is when he hears about it.
נכון.
Yeah, that's true.
Yes, but if he has, as Adina said, he has to hear it exactly and to think exactly in the same moment that it is foolish.
But when he hears about it, not when it's done originally.
Right. Yeah, when he hears about it.
Yeah, when he hears about it. This is why I'm saying that Elkanah wasn't there at all. Okay.
I want to recommend a book by Sarah Levy. Sarah Levy, he wrote a wonderful book, ולא שתי נשים, חנה ופנינה.
כן.
כן, חנה. פנינה היא צרתה של חנה, ולא, שכחתי את שמו, הבעל שלהם.
אלקנה.
אלקנה. ולא לאלקנה. יופי של ספר, כדאי לקרוא.
כן. עמנואל, אתה פה? אתה רוצה לקרוא את יונה?
And the Lord.
Okay. John, would you like to read Jonah?
And Jonah was in the belly of the fish.
So they took up Jonah and cast him forth into the sea, and the sea ceased from its raging. Then the men feared the Lord exceedingly, and they offered a sacrifice unto the Lord and made vows. And the Lord prepared a great fish to swallow up Jonah, and Jonah was in the belly of the fish 3 days and 3 nights. Then Jonah prayed unto the Lord his God out of the fish's belly. But I will sacrifice unto thee with a voice of thanksgiving. That which I have vowed I will pay. Salvation is of the Lord. And the Lord spoke unto the fish, and it vomited out Jonah upon the dry land.
Yes, so he also vowed in the this is the very, it's chapter 2 in Yonah, from the belly of the fish, and it's all the chapter is poetic. Okay, and now let's see what Deuteronomy and Kohelet say about all this issue of vowing. Sharon, את קראת פעם שנייה?
כן.
Okay, Ginny, you want to read this and three verses of Deuteronomy.
Okay, sure. When thou shalt vow a vow unto the Lord thy God, thou shalt not be slack to pay it. For the Lord thy God will surely require it of thee, and it will be sin in thee. But if thou shalt forbear to vow, it shall be no sin in thee. That which is gone out of thy lips thou shalt observe and do, according as thou hast vowed freely unto the Lord thy God, even that which thou hast promised with thy mouth.
Yes. So also look, Deuteronomy, איך אומרים מזהיר? איך אומרים מזהיר?
Caution.
Warn, caution.
Yes,
Caution.
warn from this. It's dangerous, as it is so meaningful to vow. רבקה, את רוצה לקרוא את הפסוקים של קהלת?
בעברית, כאשר, כן, מתחיל? כאשר תדור נדר לאלוהים, אל תאחר לשלמו, כי אין חפץ. כי אין חפץ בכסילים, את אשר תדור שילם.
שלם, כן, ציווי.
עוד, טוב אשר לא תדור מי שתדור ולא תשלם.
Look what Kohelet says, okay? Okay, so I think we read this. Yes, so we still have a few minutes and we can move on, unless you want to add some comments about all this issue of vows and
I just wanted to add to what Ruth was saying before.
Yeah.
In the United States, under the laws in the United States, you cannot make a contract with a minor. So you can't, the legal age is 18. So you cannot make a contract with someone who is below the age of 18. So if you have a 17-year-old and you try to make a contract with the 17-year-old, it's not binding on the 17-year-old. You can't hold them to the contract because the age of majority is 18.
Yes.
So you cannot enter a contract.
You mean
with
not valid?
Someone below that age.
So it will not be valid. This is what
right.
And can I ask you a question, please? And there is other condition to be the contract will be okay. A blind people for educator, נכה or ksil.
Disabled or yes, mental disabled or physical disabled.
Can.
Well,
there is another or only the age of the people, the one.
I'm not sure. I can't see why a physical disability would void a contract. Maybe if you can, prove that the person is not mentally capable of entering into a contract, that might work. But I don't think there's any reason why someone who's physically disabled can't.
There's a legal term of competence. So if you are mentally unable or under duress, any contract would be null and void.
Yeah.
And children are assumed to be mentally unable to give consent.
Yes. Marut?
Well, it's not exactly that they're two separate things. But I think the important lesson to take from all of that is that during childhood, we can start to teach and model our children to take promises seriously. And that's the more important part, I think, than the legal. We sometimes get bogged down in here in the legal niceties, but the important thing is the good habits and the morality. And so what I'm getting from this whole discussion is to think more carefully about what I say.
Zeu, I think it shows how much words were meaningful. So meaningful. You have to meant what you say, not only what you write.
Yeah.
Two issues about how this continues in Western culture. The day of hearing it's a truism of Christian wedding ceremonies that if there's an objection, the phrase is "speak now or
Yes.
forever hold your peace."
Fun.
And almost every subculture has the equivalent of bli neder. So in Virginia, we would say, "The good Lord willing and the creek don't rise."
I didn't fully understand it.
The good Lord willing is Bezrat Hashem.
Rat Hashem, okay.
שאין
כן.
אין בעיה עם האינדיאנים המקומיים.
They don't rise up to fight.
It's not about
Okay.
flooding,
Huh?
not about flooding and the creek.
No, it's
No,
not
no.
about flooding, it's
And
about
the
the Creek Confederacy.
Oh, really?
Revolt.
I didn't never
Really?
knew that. Yeah, I never knew that.
I always thought it was about flooding too.
No.
Me too. Yeah, me too.
It's about violent political discourse in Virginia, which continues to this day.
Huh.
Okay, very, very
But
nice.
there's also, the expression "marry in haste, repent in leisure."
Yeah.
But also often if you buy something, like some really, a big ticket item or something, you have a certain length of time that you can return it
Right.
in
Yes,
case you have buyer's remorse.
Yeah.
I mean, and that usually gives you like a certain period of time, a month or 3 days
2 weeks.
or something, depending what it is, you can return it.
Yes.
And
But it depends. If you return it in 2 days, you get all your money back. If you return it more, like until 2 or 3 weeks, you get only 95% or something like
Right.
that.
Or a credit.
Yes.
According to some of my wife's experience today, this is not as universal as we might think.
I have a good experience with this, actually.
Yeah, well, she hit the wrong button and ordered the wrong thing and immediately tried to cancel it and is having a problem.
Okay, so next week, how do you say it? With if God
God
permits,
willing and the creek don't rise.
okay, if God willing and yeah,
the creek don't rise.
all right. So we'll meet next week. I think we.
Bli neder.
בלי נדר, בדיוק, בלי נדר, בלי נדר. Okay.
Thank you very much, Ora.
Thank you, Or. That was
Do our
fun.
best
Really
to
Thank you,
interesting.
Laura. Love it all.
And lucky Yossi, we glad he's doing better.
Yes, he's
Yeah.
doing better. Yes, yes.
That's great.
That's great.
That's
We look forward to seeing him again in the class.
Thank you. I will. I think maybe well, I believe in maybe not next week or but I think he will rejoin the course in a few weeks.
Okay. Or you were saying something about the summer. I missed at the very beginning
Oh,
about the
well,
classes.
we will have on next week a lesson, and then on a week after Tisha B'Av. I don't know exactly what is in August, in the beginning of August, maybe the 3rd.
Yeah, the 3rd.
And then it's about until I'm taking a break until the start of September. Okay.
Until when?
The beginning of September.
Okay, fine, great.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay, thank you.
Bye bye.
Okay, great. Thank you. It was really
Bye.
fun today.
Welcome.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
Shalom.